You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke. Because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing. This country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
Aspiration. Is that like sweat on my butt? No. Oh, I see. What you want me to do, what I want to do in life. Well, my aspiration is to take over the world domination, rule everything, rich, powerful, that sort of stuff.
Take over the world domination, rule everything, take over the world.
I know the numbers. Folks in the Republican Party that identify themselves as very conservative overwhelmingly support Trump. On the Tea Party, you get 44% for Trump, 20% for Cruz. Of the folks that identify themselves as very conservative, 36% to 24%. So it's a little bit closer with the very conservative, a little bit closer. 36 to 24%, though, is overwhelming. The biggest divide in the conservative movement right now is globalist versus America first. And once you understand that core of Donald Trump, everything else makes sense. When Donald Trump says we should keep the Muslims out until we figure out what's going on, and Ted Cruz says that's not his policy, well, you can see who's the true conservative out of the two. It may not be a politically correct thing to say, but it's the truth. It shows the difference between globalism, which Ted Cruz, wanting to do business with the oil nations that are backing him, and America First, which says, you know what, we're not going to bow down to the wishes of Saudi Arabia with our foreign policy. We're going to take our country and put our country first, and we're going to make these Muslim nations clean up their act. Otherwise, they're going to have a hard time doing business with us. We don't believe it's a good thing that China can use unpaid prison labor to compete with American companies. We don't believe it's a good thing that China can manipulate their currency. The nonsense that NAFTA was good for America, or that most favored nation trade status with China was good for America. We don't believe it's a good thing that American factories have been closing down for the last 30 years. It's the same Milton Friedman bullshit that's been going on for a number of years. Milton Friedman basically said, 20, 30 years ago that we should lower our trade barriers and the other countries are going to just follow because it's better for them. Well, the other countries don't believe that. So they're not following. We've been running these huge trade deficits with Japan since the 80s, $50, $100 billion every year. And you can just picture a boat filled with cash being shipped over to Japan. And so Japan takes that money and they buy our bonds. And no one has the guts to say to them, you know what, it's time for you to change your behavior, because they hold the purse strings. In other words, they can tell us, well, we're not going to buy your bonds then. And then, we're in a situation where it's precarious for us. But ultimately, you have to take a stand. You have to be willing, when someone's beating the hell out of you, to say, you know what, this got to end. I'm not gonna participate in this game anymore. And only Trump has said that he's not going to participate participate in it anymore. And it's been going on for too long. Too many American jobs have been lost. And it's time for it to end. And if the Republicans rally around that cause, they're going to win in a landslide election. If they reject it in favor of a true conservative like Cruz, a globalist that isn't even an American, the Republicans are going to lose.
But I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off.
Mark Levin and Rush Limbaugh are traitors. They're American traitors, and they're probably being bought off by very large, powerful entities. The biggest shareholder in Fox News is owned by a Saudi Arabian prince. Rush Limbaugh's stance has to do more with possibly being directly controlled by Saudi Arabia than it has to do with anything else. And, you know, look at Mark Levin and one of his relatives working on the Cruz campaign. I mean, who knows where the money's coming from and where the puppets, where the strings are that are coming on these people. For whatever reason, they're on the side of the globalists. The globalists believe we have an open border. We even out with Mexico. You know, all their poor come over here and we give them jobs, and that keeps wages down, which is good for American corporations. But in the end, the American people are suffering. So that's the globalist versus the America First belief. The globalists believe that we shouldn't be exporting the criminals that have invaded our country. You know, Ted Cruz has never said, I'm going to deport all the illegals. Donald Trump's going to round them up, ship them out. He's going to build a wall. And he's going to ship out the ones that are here. Women, children, everything. Ted Cruz won't say that. That's a big deal. America first versus globalists. You know, we have a right to exist as a nation, and if someone's here illegally, if someone has broke into your house and decided to fall asleep on your couch, is it evil to say, you know what, you gotta go. You're not supposed to be on my couch. And I don't care that you've been there for 10 years, but it's time. You gotta go. You gotta go. You weren't invited here. You broke in. You don't belong here. I mean, you got kids? Okay, well, I'm sorry. Your kids don't belong in my living room either. They gotta go. All of them. They gotta go. Only Trump will say that. Only Trump will say that. Only Trump has the courage to say that. And that's why there's protesters at Trump rallies, and there's no protesters at Cruz rallies. So who's the true conservative? So that's America first versus globalism. Do the rights of these invaders take precedence over the rights of American citizens that are losing jobs? I mean, whether, you know, yeah, they're good people. A lot of them, you know, I feel sorry for them, a lot of them. You know, they are bringing drugs, though. They are bringing crime. There are rapists. You know, look at MS-13, one of the most fearsome gangs in the history of the United States. MS-13. Look it up. Watch American Me sometime. Oh, my God.
She won't even clean, man.
Déjalo, güero. What's your problem, mister?
I paid for a full load, man.
Don't worry, we'll take care of business.
Don't worry, I'm sick, motherfucker.
Make sure he gets what he ordered right now.
Simon. Thank you. I fucking appreciate that, man.
Who copped this wire?
Some fucking mayate. He's dead.
Control the prisons. They control the inside and the outside. They control all the gangs in this country indirectly from their power. So if you look at a black gang, you know, like the Crips and the Bloods, people talk about them, but they don't mess with MS-13. MS-13 is the most fearsome gang we've ever had in this country, and it's largely controlled by our open borders. They've just got the numbers, and they've got the viciousness, and they've got the money. They've got the real money. Crips and the Bloods don't have this kind of money. You know, we're talking El Chapo and billionaire kind of money. And Mexico can't control them, and we're letting them run wild. His son was executed by MS-13 as a rite of passage. We'll tell a gangbanger, you got to go kill somebody today. You know, if you want to be in the gang, you got to kill somebody today. I mean, this is all globalism versus America first. And that's Donald Trump's core. So who's a conservative? And who are you with? Are you with Limbaugh, Levin, and Fox News, who may be controlled by foreign interests or globalist domestic interests, whatever you want to call it? Or are you with the people that believe we need to take our country back?